What is this? A new segment?
A new segment.
News nuggets?
News nuggets.
How would you describe news nuggets, Ryan?
Nuggets of news.
Nuggets of news. Okay,
nuggets.
So these are like the news that we feel like we just got to bring to the community's attention, but it's because it sparked interest to us. Like we're sitting here and we're going through all these different things and we're like, maybe not show worthy.
There's been so many topics over the past 19 podcasts that we've done when we're looking for ideas to talk about. So many things that are like, that's a cool subject, but it's so quick and it's kind of short and there's not really enough there to make a whole, several minute long segment of our podcast about.
But we still want to talk about it.
We still want to talk about it. So why don't we just take several of those and smash them into nugget form?
That's right. So we got news nuggets for you. And the first one we want to talk about is James Gunn, Suicide Squad #2. News has been breaking about this all year, but this news has got me so excited. James Gunn went to Twitter and announced that this movie that he is producing right now, we know he's a fan of practical effects, but he's saying that this movie, Suicide Squad 2, is going to have the most practical effects that he's done in any movie ever.
That makes sense because he's got that background in horror movies. And people who make horror movies, especially independent horror movies like him, they kind of have no choice but to use practical effects. So it makes a lot of sense that he'd be using that here.
Don't you think that he probably has a love for practical effects for that very reason?
Yeah, it's easier.
That's right.
Well,
And
not necessarily now.
I mean,
sometimes it's easier to just throw a bunch of money at it and make a special effect.
it really depends on it, but
Yeah.
there is probably a passion he has for the makeup and for the actual prosthetics and the different creations that you can do through practical effects.
Prosthetics and practical effects always age better than CGI too. No matter how good your CGI is, in 5 or 10 years, it's going to look a little silly, a little flat. People will notice.
Yeah, and if you think we're wrong, go check out The Thing and then get back to us.
Right, that movie's aged fantastically well, but if you look at any movie full of CGI from like the year 2010, not so much.
I'm all about this, man. I think Suicide Squad 2 is going to be a great movie. I think it's going to surprise a lot of people, and I think it's needed after just the failure of the first one.
Couldn't have put it better myself.
All right, let's take a look at this next story here. Wandavision. I am all sorts of interested in this, and I wasn't really at first, but the way that they're releasing the information, slow burn, it's got me intrigued.
I've been catching some flack in the community for not being a fan of The Mandalorian, which is the first live-action Star Wars series, but it's the first live-action series of any kind that is coming out on Disney+.
True.
It's got me a little worried about the Marvel shows. However, the more I hear about WandaVision in particular, the more at ease I am. I want a show made by Disney Plus to be strange, to be risk-takey, to be a little more out there. And I think WandaVision is going to scratch that itch for me.
Can't agree with you more there, Ryan. I want to see something different. There's going to be a lot hitting the screen, and it's going to be fighting for viewers' attention. We need something different. If we get something that's the same, it's going to fail. It's not going to be good. But this is news from Variety that has got so many people freaking out. It says here, this is the quote, that parts of the show could be filmed in front of a live studio audience. This is going to be a classic sitcom blended with huge Marvel action. What is this?
How can this possibly be a thing?
Like
what? In what?
Laugh tracks?
Yeah, studio audience. Like I Love Lucy.
How?
Like in what world does this? It has to be her having some kind of like hallucinations or some trippy dream sequence.
Yeah, maybe it's like a thing that they do sometimes on the show. So they're just going to film those scenes in front of a large studio audience. But
That
typically,
sounds weird, and that's the exact kind of weird that I want.
But it's also the kind of thing that would incent a production company. Typically, when you do something in front of a live studio audience, you're saving time because you're filming things faster. You get the laugh track, and yeah, it ends up helping in post. But I'm not sure if this is more for a creative decision, so we just get some interesting narratives, or if they're actually going to give us a sitcom-like show, which is what they're soliciting.
I'm reminded of there was a bunch of freaky dream sequences in Requiem for a Dream where she's visualizing herself on stage in like a talk show kind of environment with a live studio audience there, and it was a scary dream sequence, and I'm thinking something like that might be what we're looking at. Hopefully not like the rest of Requiem for a Dream, but you get my feeling.
All right, the next one on this list here that has just perked my interest is Werewolf by Night. I've been following this character for quite some time. We had news early last year that Hulu was going to be taking on a number of different shows, as that year winded out, it looked like it was going to be a lot of darker shows.
Ghost Rider was really big for Hulu, so they were kind of building up a separate, like, dark street level
Mhm.
counterpoint to the Netflix street level universe that was developing and has now failed.
And now that we are seeing all of these shows transfer from Hulu now to Marvel Plus, looks like that's not happening anymore. Werewolf by Night has kind of been lost in that scuffle until recently, because now we're seeing rumors hit the internet that Werewolf by Night is going to be in MoonKnight, which makes so much sense.
That's where they got introduced. It's kind of like John Constantine and Swamp Thing hanging out all the time.
I'm excited to see this angry Ginger, and I'm even more excited to see him side by side with Moon Knight. It makes a lot more sense with that Blade cast than the Midnight Suns, which is what I think they were planning on going as far as the direction on Hulu.
I just think if you throw a werewolf in the mix, and like, what is that going to do to your show? That could make it so scary. If they do it right, they could really make this Moon Knight show. Like, I'm really looking forward to the Moon Knight show too. And I have he's been one of those characters that I've been kind of like, eh. And I've never really dabbled in Moon Knight, so I'm looking forward to this a lot.
All right, Matt Reeves, Batman. What is this guy doing? We have so many different villains that are now coming to the forefront, being casted. We got Riddler, we got Penguin, we got Catwoman, we got Commissioner Gordon, all these different supposed characters that we can expect to see in one movie. And it sounds like we have rumors about why that's happening.
I don't know how I feel about this. I've been on record as being kind of like nervous.
Ryan's confused.
You're
feeling some turmoil. You're fighting inside. The devil and God are raging inside of you.
Always. I remember when they were talking about Long Halloween being an influence for this movie, and I was kind of nervous that had too big of a scope, that there was too much in that storyline. There's too many villains. You kind of tick through every single rogues gallery of villain that Batman has. And I'm kind of worried that if you put that many villains into a movie, you'll get the Spider-Man 3 effect, where the whole movie just kind of unravels and fizzles out.
Why does it look like?
But they're doing this because they're leaving the door open now that Joker was such a big success. I think they're leaving the door open from this Batman movie to kind of be a springboard launching point for solo villain films. So, like, if the Riddler, for example, does really well, Paul Dano, who I love, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing his Riddler. If he does well, there's potential here for a Riddler spinoff.
Origin or something.
Yeah.
Similar to the Joker. They're trying to figure out a way to replicate it. It makes sense to me.
If you're going to make a mini cinematic universe around the Batman characters, I think you could do a lot worse. You know, there's Batman characters have all kinds of, you have unlimited potential there, basically. For a mini cinematic universe.
Next one on the list here, we got Zack Snyder. We haven't actually talked about this much, which is, I don't know. It's been on the list a couple times as a maybe we talk about on the podcast, but then, I don't know, I kind of felt like it really wasn't worth it. But then, damn, this guy is not letting up.
Zack Snyder's not letting up. I've noticed Jason Momoa has been saying a lot of stuff about the Snyder Cut recently. It seems to kind of never go away, and the movie's been out for like 2 years now.
That's right. Every other day, it seems like there's just more and more individuals being riled up saying that they want to see what Zack Snyder intended for us to see years ago.
I'm usually always on that side, because every superhero movie comes out, you always hear after the fact, you always hear behind the scenes there was a big conflict between the studio and the director, and it usually ends with the studio forcing the directors to kind of change some stuff or put some stuff out, or just generally water it down to make it more palatable for the masses.
I.e. Suicide Squad?
Sure, yeah, Suicide Squad is a big victim of that. I also personally think Green Lantern is a little bit of a big victim of that, and we're having that happen here. And I usually always side with the creator in this instance. And I think in a movie like Justice League, it could only be improved by a director's cut.
It could only be improved.
Low
bar.
They cut a lot of that, a lot of the good potential out of that film. It's a I don't even know. It was a mess. It's a shell of what it could have been.
Well, a lot of individuals voiced their opinions saying that they demanded to see it. They want to see it, right? But will Warner Brothers do this kind of thing?
It's been 2 years.
It's been 2 years. It's a lose-lose situation.
They got a new Batman already.
Let's say they put it out and it does well.
That would be scary for them. Like, what if it does well, then people are like, well, hey, this was pretty cool. Let's get more of this.
Yeah, you screwed up. Or if it doesn't do well,
we want Ben Affleck back. Like, that's
they're already looking at the future. It's like it's done is done. It didn't work out. However, one of the points, kind of to go against the let's bring it out the mentality there is that what could they have actually done? Like, all right, we have a 2-hour long movie, and let's say there's 15 minutes. Okay, let's say there's 15 minutes of extra footage, 20 minutes of extra footage. Heck, give it a freaking half hour of extra footage. How much more dialogue? Maybe another character. Maybe there's like a storyboard that they can show us.
At that point, you're basically just inserting deleted scenes back into the movie. And usually deleted scenes are cut for a reason, and those need to be removed for, general flow and stuff. And yeah, you put all those back in the movie, you usually end up with something like 15, 20 minutes of kind of, and it feels like bloated.
Bloated, and it's like no big deal, right? And that's what I felt like a lot of people thought that were like, oh, they don't care about it. That's what they were thinking. It's not very much. And if it is anything, it's like not very good. It's unfinished. Probably not worth it. Forget about it. Move on. However, we're talking about news nuggets for a reason.
News nuggets.
Zack Snyder tweeted out that not only does the Snyder Cut exist, he showed a freaking picture of it. And what does it say on the front?
3 hours.
3 hours plus running time. There's over an hour's worth of movie. Not 20 minutes. Not 25 minutes. Not 60 minutes. We're talking like there's like a whole half of a movie that we didn't see.
What do you think is in there?
So now I'm like, damn it, no. Am I switching sides here? Do I want to see this movie? I don't even know. Comic fan, let me know what you think. Does this change your mind if you didn't care? Or if you do care, are you just up in arms now? You're freaking out and you demand to see it? Because I'm starting to think that there could have been something in there that could have saved it.
I watched Justice League, and the whole time I kept feeling like this was moving too fast. Like personally, I wanted to see more of like the Cyborg story. I felt like he suffered the most, like as far as cuts to the plot go. Like they just kind of got rid of his whole story and even involvement in the plot altogether.
It's similar to what you described about your concerns about the upcoming Matt Reeves Batman. There's so many characters, so many heroes, more than one antagonist, and all of a sudden they kind of get watered down. You don't feel like you got enough of anything, and you kind of feel like, you know what? Kind of a letdown. Bummer.
Yeah, so maybe an extra hour of the Justice League movie could have been
hour plus.
Yeah.
Over 3 hours.
Exactly.
I looked online, man, for Justice League was just over 2 hours.
Yeah, and it wasn't good. A lot of it was all over the place.
And last but not least, we got to just remind you that we have
Tom's excited.
Dude, I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
Dude, I don't think anyone's going to blame me for fanboying about my own freaking Thor comic book. Donny Cates is on the cover. You flip it around and my name's on the back. I'm freaking out. Get your ComicTom exclusive for January reserved. I have a feeling they're going to sell quick. Low print, baby. It's going to be crazy.
Exciting.